Kia ora, everybody. Welcome. No mai, haere mai. Welcome to our virtual protest to ban New Zealand live export. It is fantastic to have you joining us from all around Aotearoa, New Zealand, and in fact, all around the world. This is an international live streamed event. I'll introduce myself to kick things off. My name is Julie Gunn. I'm here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, hosting this event. And I'll be the glue that's holding it all together. We've got so much fun and really, really important things that we're going to do together this evening. We have over 6,000 people have registered to join our event, so that is fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time, whatever time zone you're in. It's a really, really important time. People are on Zoom and also on Facebook, and you'll have chances to take part on both of those. People have already been speaking about this issue, the issue of live export of animals from New Zealand. Already over 20,000 people have sent emails to our Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, in the last 2 weeks asking her for an end to live export. So thank you so much for those who have done that already. We'd love to know who you all are and where you're all from. So if you could put in the chat box, you'll see if you're on Zoom, little chat box at the bottom there, or if you're on Facebook, put in the comments there. Please put your name and tell us where you're from, because we've got a whole community, an international community. Oh, I see it all popping up there already. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. And hey, you might meet somebody that you know, or make connections with somebody in your own town or across the world. For those of you on Zoom, you can add your comments and questions in the chat box there, and we're going to be adding the actions as we go through this evening into that chat box, so keep an eye on that, and if there's anything that comes up, we'll post it again. And it's also posted in the, all of the actions are posted in the Facebook event description. So as I can see that Zoom chat box is filling up, and also for people on Facebook, put your comments in the comments section there as well. But again, looking at the Facebook event description, that's where all of our actions are going to be tonight. So if you get lost along the way somewhere, just check back there, and I'll let you know of some important things, a couple of hashtags that we're using. Our housekeeping rules, please keep your comments polite. This is a pretty emotive issue for a lot of people, and it can, strike really deep, and maybe you've got a whole well of emotions coming up. But we do ask that we keep our comments polite and our questions polite. If you're asking a question or making a point, just make it once. The moderators will pick up. We've got lots of eyes on our chat boxes to pick up your questions and comments as we go. And we do encourage your questions throughout this event. So please don't be whakama, don't be shy, jump on in there. We would love to hear from you. We're going to be taking lots of social media actions as well. Remember, please just keep that polite. We've got a number of politicians who will be commenting too. So to have the most impact, we really want to keep it polite, keep it to the point, and we can help you out with some of the wording if you're not sure there as well. Hey, this event is being recorded on Zoom. So this is just for those joining on Zoom. It is being live recorded as we go. If you feel more comfortable not being recorded, then you're very welcome to turn your video off. That's not a problem. Or if you change your mind, kind of pop in and out as you go, that's fine. You can just turn your video off as you go if you don't want us to see you there. Hey, I have some very, very exciting news. As we are kicking off this protest, there is an international advertising campaign that is going live right now in The Guardian UK. So those of you in the UK might see this. So it's fantastic. I can see we've got some people there joining from all over. So keep your eye out for that. And those of you in the upcoming weeks, keep your eye out for that. It's really important that we're getting international coverage of this. As I mentioned, we've got a couple of hashtags that we would like you to use during this event and also going forward. Again, you'll find those in the Facebook event description, but I'll give them to you now. Hashtag ban live export NZ. That's our first one. And the second one is hashtag all eyes on NZ. So we encourage you to use these. And these are the things we want. We want live export to be banned, and also, hey, come and have a look, put your eyes on New Zealand, see what we're doing, because we need to do better. So that's all the things you need to know to get started. I'm amazed at seeing everybody popping in there. Hi, everybody, it's fantastic. Hey, I would like to start by introducing our very first speaker, Deborah Ashton. She is the CEO of SAFE here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. She has been SAFE CEO since 2018. She's a long-time animal advocate. Her love of animals and her concern for the way they're treated led Deborah to work with a wide number of groups wanting to make positive changes for animals. Previously, she served on the boards of both SAFE and Wellington SPCA and produced and co-presented an animal rights radio program, which was fantastic. Over to you, Deborah.
I'm unmuted now. Thank you, Julie, and thank you for being our wonderful MC for this evening. Kia ora, everybody, and thank you so much for taking part in this very important event to ban live export. I want to thank my team at SAFE who have put this event together, and I'd like to thank all of you who have taken the time to join us tonight. And I'd also like to give a special thank you to our speakers. SAFE have been campaigning against live export for many, many years. In 2003, New Zealand had stopped exporting live animals for slaughter. However, a loophole still remains which allows animals to be exported for breeding. This is a farce because we all know that animals still get slaughtered eventually anyway. And this is a key point that is often forgotten with those who want to keep this cruel trade alive. What is especially concerning is what conditions are like for animals on board with unpredictable conditions at sea, and the fact that animals are going to countries that have no animal welfare standards. In New Zealand, we have reasonably good animal welfare laws, which raises the question, why on earth would we be sending our animals to countries overseas who don't? Secondly, why would we want to risk our reputation when live export is worth less than 1% of all of our overall exports? In 2019, Australian and New Zealand cattle were shown to be suffering in Sri Lanka in an expose shown on Australia's ABC show. Following this, our Minister of Agriculture, Damien O'Connor, launched a review into live export, but we're still waiting for the report to be released. In the same year, we took a petition to our Parliament containing over 30,000 signatures, and we're still waiting for a select committee to hear the submissions. In the past week, our Ministry for Primary Industries announced yet another review which would assess the assurances they give when an application to export live animals comes in. It's really unfortunate, though, that it has taken the sinking of the Gulf Live Export 1 with 43 crew, including 2 New Zealanders, and 5,867 cattle on board to put this issue in the spotlight. But it is this tragedy and the pressure from people like all of us here tonight that has prompted our government to put a temporary halt on live export. It's interesting to note that most of New Zealand's exports actually involve day-old chicks, in fact, around about 2.1 million, and of course cows. And this year we've sent over 65,000. We also export live eels, a number of sheep, goats, alpacas, llamas, and pigs. Some key figures in New Zealand have spoken out against live export just recently, including the former chair of the government's very own Animal Welfare Advisory Committee. The CEO of SAFE, of SPCA in New Zealand, has also spoken out against live export, and more recently a farmer. So momentum really is building. So together, let's take more action tonight to ban live export. And on that note, I'm going to hand you back over to Julie. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Fantastic. Hey, it's really important to get the facts, and yeah, no better person to get them from. Are you ready? It is time for our first action of the evening. Hey, we have got a brand new photo frame for your Facebook profile photo. So for those of you on Facebook, get ready. Here we go. We have a ban live export photo frame. All you have to do is be logged into your personal Facebook account and follow the link that is going in the chat in the comment section. And remember, it is also on the event description for this event. If you click on that link, follow that link, and it will take you right there. And you just add that to your profile photo on your Facebook. Are you doing it? Some people saying they don't do Facebook. That's okay. Those of you, jump on there, throw that on. If not, you might have friends, whānau, family who do it. Don't worry, we've got loads of actions for people, whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, lots of different online events. Already done. Look at that. Look at those comments coming in. Brilliant. Have I done mine yet? Actually, yeah, I did mine this afternoon. Hey, thank you so much for using this as a way of spreading the message to ban live export. You know, it's really powerful. Whenever you jump onto Facebook, whether you're commenting or whatever, that's what people are going to see. And it's seeing that message again and again and again. That's it's going to get through to people, because for not everybody, this is an issue as a high priority, or maybe they, I don't know, it gets lost in the news somehow. But by helping to spread this message, we're helping to raise it with people as well as the politicians, and this is how we're going to get things done. How do I get the Facebook frame? People are asking. So be logged into your own Facebook account and have a look at the link. It's been put in the chats and the comments on Facebook and in Zoom. It's also on the event description. Or you can go into your profile picture, click on it, it'll say add frame, and you just search for it there. Ban live export. The frame will come up, add, boom, done. It's just jumped into the Zoom chat box now. Jump on there. How we doing? Good job. That's our first action completed for the evening. Fantastic. Love your work. Hey, it is now time for me to introduce Will. He is the Safe Media Manager, and he is our interviewer for this evening. So we have got some of the most fantastic people that we're going to speak to this evening. And his first interview is with Annika Carlson. As well as being the owner of an animal sanctuary, Annika is a first-term New Plymouth District Councillor. She uses her platform to bring animal rights, and in particular live export, front and centre. She's always been a strong voice for animal rights and established the Taranaki Animal Rights Group, which helps raise awareness around animal issues such as live export. But before we go to this interview, we have something fun to show you. Here is a video of Annika at her animal sanctuary with some of her cows that have been rescued.
She's a snoozy baby. Hey, Chloe. She's snoozing on my Oh, Chloe. Oh, I love you.
Have we got Will and Annika there?
Yes, we
Hello.
do.
Kia ora.
Such a lovely video. Kia ora koutou katoa. My name's Will. It's great to be here today, and it's a pleasure to speak to you, Annika, as well. Quickly, the first time we actually met was at a live export protest that SAF was hosting in New Plymouth, so we've really come full circle. Look, firstly, could you tell us a bit about Port Taranaki's involvement in the live export trade and the local campaign to end it?
Yeah, so I guess the Port Taranaki wanted to diversify their business portfolio, and so they started live exporting cows in February this year. And that kind of was when it all sort of begun for us. I was disgusted by it, and a lot of other people in the community were disgusted by it. And it was, I guess, then going and doing the detail, you find out that actually the port is owned by Taranaki Regional Council, which is run by elected members, and they're our voice. And I realized very soon we need to be targeted. We need to target them and changing, letting them know that we don't want that sort of business happening from our port, really.
Yeah, and obviously they're elected representatives, and they should be listening to, the voice of the people. And in recent media coverage, we've seen even from some farmers who are out there and they're not afraid to speak out against live export. There's even farmers in your region who are against this as well. Have you been contacted by any local farmers since you started your campaign against live export?
Yeah. So lately, I've probably been contacted by a handful of farmers, and more recently by ones who are directly involved in live export, who have, I guess, are now feeling a little bit guilty and maybe misled by MPI also, and have said, if there's another ship that leaves Port Taranaki, we'll be standing right by you down there protesting. This is just bad for our reputation, but actually, once they've looked further into it, they've realized actually this is not farming in our mind.
And you've mentioned as well, again, going back to the fact that Port Taranaki, it's owned by the Regional Council. Two other ports, one in Timaru and Napier, are both owned by local body governments. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I guess, and again, from what I've been able to find out, they're run pretty similar to how Port Taranaki is run, whereas the majority of their shares are from either the Regional Council or the District Council. So, from a national perspective, and particularly in those areas of Timaru and Napier, putting pressure on your local elected members to start, having those hard conversations and bringing about change is really important. And even from a national perspective, even if you're not in those areas, starting from the ground up, I think is definitely worthwhile. We're definitely putting the pressure on the port here and on Taranaki Regional Council. And as I don't know if I mentioned it before, but we're growing in intensity. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they're going to want to bring another ship into our port.
It's just getting worse and worse news to them, isn't it? And they are the owners, and they're responsible to their constituents. So it takes people on the ground reference.
They have the power to stop it, literally right now. And yeah, we can get them.
Ka pai. Look, thank you so much, Annika, for joining us. It's a pleasure to speak with you. And back to you, Julie.
Thank you.
Ngā mihi. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Annika. Now, are you ready? We are going to do something a little bit fun, potentially a bit chaotic, but I'm looking at your faces. I think you're up for this. Hey, did you all bring your protest signs? When you pull out your protest sign, you've got it sitting behind you, under the dog, behind the door, grab it out. I can see them fantastic. And we are going to be waving these, and we're going to get ready to chant. So get ready. The chant will be put in the chat and in the comments, and it's also on the event description. This is our chant that we're going to go with. Shout it loud, let them know, all live export needs to go. It's going to go something like this. Shout it loud, let them know, all live export needs to go. So, you ready? Can we see you waving those signs? To the committee. We are going to go.
Yeah,
ready? 1, 2, 3. Shout it
loud.
All live exports
Let to go. Let to go. Let them know. Go. Shout it loud. Let them know.
All live exports have to go. All live exports have to go.
Let them know. All exports need to go. All live exports
Animal expert.
to go. Loud.
all live exports have to go.
Let them know.
Turn myself back on. That was amazing. Oh my gosh, this is fantastic. This is one of the best things about being in an in-person protest is you give your lungs some exercise and you really get to say something. And to think that we've been able to do it with so many people from around the world together. Thank you so much. Hey, keep that one in mind. Shout it loud, let them know. All life export needs to go. You might find that useful sometime later on this week. Who knows, walking down the street. It's a good little ditty to sing. That was amazing. I'm so excited to be able to do that with you in person sometime. Now, we're going to take some photos of all these signs that you've got. So you're waving them, and there are some amazing signs. Thank you so much. This is absolutely fantastic. So hold them all up, and we're going to take a photo of them. It's going to take a while. We're going to have to kind of scroll through the pages to get everybody. If you don't have a sign, that's okay. Just give a wave. Give a thumbs up. You see them here, absolutely amazing. Oh, this is brilliant. Hey, I'm seeing the use of the hashtag there. Fantastic. Hey, people have got some pictures of their animals going on. This is wonderful. Hey, I recognize some of those people. Nice one. Brilliant. Hey, well done. Oh, here's my sign. I bought this sign. So what's happening right now is that we're scrolling through, getting shots of all of you who have got your signs up here. It's absolutely fantastic. Who says we can't have an absolutely amazing protest even though we're not in person? This is absolutely brilliant. See somewhere there, I'm voting to end live export. Well, we got some messages for our politicians coming up really, really soon. So stick with us. And remember those hashtags as well. We've got hashtag ban live export NZ and also hashtag all eyes on NZ. So remember to be using those ones. How are we going there? Do we think we've got everybody? Where's my tech people? I think we're good to go.
Right.
We continue. Amazing. Hey, thank you everybody so much. Put those signs somewhere really, really safe because yeah, you might be needing them again sometime. Hey, and thank you so much for the effort you've all gone to for making those signs. They're absolutely fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. Where are we at? Time for another action. As I said, we are going to be getting through to some of our politicians here, the people who are making the decisions in Aotearoa New Zealand. We need to let them know what we think because they act on behalf of us. We're really ramping things up. We're getting our leaders, our politicians to hear our ban live export message loud and clear. So our second action. Those of you on Twitter, I know not everybody is, but that's okay. Those of you who are on Twitter, open your Twitter, log in. If you're not on Twitter, jump onto your Facebook. Oh, I see people dashing away, grab their phones, grab their computers. We can't be all together outside Parliament having this protest. So we can make a really big impact right where we are. And this is a beautiful thing about using the technologies that we have today to have that impact and get right into the space of our politicians, whether you're on a computer, or on a phone, on not sure what else. Have a look in the chat description and in the Facebook comments description. We have links that you can click to publish a tweet about live export. All you need to do is just click on that one there. You can see it takes you the link right there. Wow, I've got somebody coming up with fantastic comments and hashtags already. So if you logged into Twitter, it's going to take you straight to that tweet, and then you just want to click tweet to send it off. And if you're doing it on Facebook, remember the links in the Facebook event description. These are going to take you straight to the Facebook profiles of our New Zealand politicians, our New Zealand political leaders. So we have Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of Aotearoa New Zealand, Damien O'Connor, who is our Minister of Agriculture, a link there for the Labour Party, the National Party, the Green Party, the New Zealand First Party, a link to David Parker, the Minister for Trade and Export Growth, Nanaya Mahuta, Associate Minister for Trade and Export Growth, the Ministry for Primary Industries, as well as Winston Peters, the leader of New Zealand First, and also the Deputy Prime Minister. So we're getting all up in everybody's faces in a good way. Remember, being polite, but being really firm with what we want. We are demanding a ban to live export here in New Zealand. Remember our hashtags, hashtag ban live export NZ, and our other hashtag, all eyes on NZ. So there we go. So if you tweeted, how's that tweeting going? Give me a wave, give me a thumbs up. How are you going with that one? Oh, fantastic. Nice one. Remember, the links are also there to the, just reading there, yep, to the Facebook pages as well. So we're saying to our Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, please extend your kindness to animals and end the cruel live export trade. Live export undermines New Zealand laws and the kind Kiwi values we like to share with the world. Live export is not worth the suffering. Hashtag ban live export NZ, hashtag all eyes on NZ. Just checking how we're doing for time. Have a look, click on through those, put them on their Facebook pages. Remember as well, after this event, these links will be available for you to use, so you can click on there and send them away. We've got quite a few of them. I'm not going to read through all of them, although I might come back to some of them as we go. I can see there's a lot of action. This is fantastic. Brilliant. Hey, you can do this as we go through the rest of our evening together. If you want to tweet, if you want to leave those Facebook comments for our political leaders here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, feel free to do that as we go. But what I do want to do is introduce you to our very next speaker. Our very next speaker is Kelly Dent. After I've introduced her, I'll hand you over to Will for the interview. Kelly has 25 years experience lobbying and campaigning on climate change, poverty, corporate accountability, trade, labour and human rights around the world. At World Animal Protection, she specialises in international animal welfare laws and company policy, which sees her play a lead role in the development of the Animal Protection Index. This is a ranking of 50 countries around the globe, according to their legislation and policy commitments to protecting animals. Over to you, Will.
Thanks, Julie, and welcome, Kelly. It's so great to be here today. And a representative from World Animal Protection. It's great that the work that you do, it really helps us to actually tell the story and paint the picture of, you know, some of the things that happen in live export trade. Just firstly, I think it's important to note that when we talk about animal welfare laws and regulations in other countries, it's not a criticism of other of people from other countries or other cultures or ethnicities. We're talking about laws and regulations. Briefly, could you describe the animal protection laws and regulations that currently exist for animals in agriculture in places like the People's Republic of China?
Absolutely, and thanks for having me, and how amazing to be here and to see everyone that's online, and what a fantastic event. To answer your question, the Animal Protection Index, it's a tool which ranks 50 countries from around the globe, and that is according to the legislation and policy commitments towards protecting animals. China received a G ranking for their laws applying to farm animals and an E ranking overall. Now we rank on a scale from A to G. So an E is the lowest ranking. By comparison, New Zealand for farm animals ranks as a C. We also know that, as with many countries, animal sentience is not formally recognised in Chinese legislation, and their main Animal Welfare Act contains very minimal animal welfare requirements. It does have some, but they are very minimal. We have seen some work done in China. However, there is much more to do, and we're obviously also calling on the Chinese government to make sure to include animal sentience in further legislative reforms.
And that's a really good point you've made about animal sentience, because that is recognised in law in New Zealand in the Animal Welfare Act 1999. Obviously, it's not in China. Again, for some of the this is obviously a reflection of China's regulations and laws for the protection of animal welfare, not so much the people that live there. What insight do you have into the realities for animals on the ground in the People's Republic of China, considering the closed-off nature of the regime in China?
Yeah, great question, Will. We're really lucky at World Animal Protection to have a really incredible team in our China office, and they work really, really hard. And as I said, have achieved some progress. They have been working, for example, with China's leading pig producers to commit to ending sow stores. But we do know that there's much, much more work to be done in China. And indeed in all countries around the world, since in our Animal Protection Index, absolutely no country received an A, and we are working really hard and want to lobby governments very strongly to actually, all governments, to improve their treatment of animals.
Supporters of the live export trade in New Zealand say that since the cows that we export are high value breeding stock, then they will be treated well in their destination countries, because the countries that are buying them have made a significant investment. What's your thoughts on a statement like this?
Yeah, so live export for breeding is live export for eventual slaughter. It's cruel, it's inhumane. The reality is that these are animals which, once they cease to be productive, will either be sold on to whoever will take them, or will be slaughtered, often in inhumane conditions that fall well below what is acceptable in New Zealand and what should be acceptable, frankly, to anyone. I mean, of course, there's also the suffering that animals endure on the really long voyages that they take, the cramped conditions, the cruelty, the suffering that they experience, and also a real lack of control over the fate of animals once they arrive in the countries that they are being exported to. And we've already talked about many countries that animals are exported to have conditions that are far lower than the countries that they're being exported from. But even if they were the same conditions, the issue is still the suffering and cruelty that the animals endure on those horrendous long voyages. And, of course, the tragic example and one of the purposes for this protest now with the Gulf Live Export 1.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's only just it's put the spotlight back on an issue that has been problematic for a long time, and that's why we're here all today, and that's why you're with us as well. And I appreciate you joining with us, Kelly. The work that World Animal Protection does with the Animal Protection Index is really important. It's a powerful tool for us to try and demonstrate to the wider community what happens in some of these countries that we export animals to. So thank you very much for joining us, Kelly. And
thanks so much.
Sorry, back to Julie.
Hey, thank you so much, Kelly, for joining us, and thank you, Will. How's everyone doing with their tweeting and Facebook comments? Going well? I see you're looking busy there. Cool. Remember, use that stuff as much as you like. I see loads of comments coming in the chat and the comment section on Facebook as well. So that's wonderful to hear from you all. I'm ready to introduce our next speaker, Lynn White. If we have time, we'll get a few questions some of you after the interview. So if you have been putting them in the chat, putting them in the comments, we'll see how we go. Let me introduce Lynn. She is a former police officer. Lynn is one of Australia's foremost animal advocates and lobbyists. Lynn has been investigating the live export trade since 2003, with evidence gathered resulting in significant regulatory reforms and unprecedented animal welfare advancements in a number of countries. For her significant contribution to animal protection, Lynn has been appointed a member of the Order of Australia and is a two-time Australian of the Year state finalist. We are so happy to have Lynn here. Over to you, Will. You're on mute there, Will.
I have the same problem.
I unmuted myself. Cool. Thanks, Julie. And it's a pleasure to have you here, Lynn. I wish it was under better circumstances following the tragedy that occurred with Gulf Livestock 1. It didn't even seem that long ago. You and I were chatting, Lynn, about live export, but here we are. Look, I know you've been personally investigating and exposing the suffering in the live export trade for over 17 years now. Are there any arguments beyond the direct animal suffering that can be used to convince politicians or the public who remain unconvinced?
Hi, Will, and yes, there are, but firstly, can I just say I'm so pleased to be able to be with you, and I'd really like to be able to say on the behalf of the many thousands of Australians that I know that have joined in on this call that you have our full support in New Zealand towards convincing your government to bring an end to this trade. Fair to say, as Aussies, we have lived through time and time again the distress from the suffering in this trade being exposed, and from my own perspective, what I've seen also each time is this incredible wave of compassion that has brought us each time ever closer to bringing an end to the trade. So in knowing that there's not only Aussies and New Zealanders on this call, but people from right around the world, I'm sure we share a commitment to creating that global wave of compassion and convincing your government to honour all of the lives that were lost in this tragedy by being the first country that brings an end to this trade. So I look forward to working with you towards that. But as to, yes, 17 years of working on this trade and investigations, and, you know, I think we all know it's a trade that's been littered with disasters in terms of shipboard rejections and weather events and mechanical breakdowns. And also, as other speakers have spoken to, of course, we are exporting animals to countries that have no laws to protect them from cruelty. And I think the key thing that I think that extends beyond those individual animals is the example that this trade sets to countries that are still to embrace that we have a moral duty to protect animals from harm. Many of the countries that we export to still trade in animals, trade in their use, and see them as objects to be traded in and slaughtered. And again, I have many good friends in these countries now that want to change this, but what countries like New Zealand and Australia are doing by participating in this trade is setting the worst possible example, not only because of the shipboard suffering that everyone is aware of, that animals suffer and die en route, but in the fact that we have, as countries, we project that we have this evolved view of animal welfare, only to put it to one side and abandon those animals when there is commercial opportunities and profit on offer. That is the worst possible example we could set. And, you know, some of my the moments that I've had on investigations in being able to access abattoirs and markets in across the Middle East and North Africa was simply through being able to say I was an Australian. And as soon as they knew that I was an Australian and they had Australian animals, they just instantly assumed that all Australians must support how they were treating them. And as we know, that's simply not the case. So, you know, I think every politician in our country, in your country, would say that they want to improve animal welfare globally. If that's the case, the first step is for countries such as ours to set an example that will actually promote animal welfare rather than undermine the progress of animal welfare internationally.
Which leads me quite well to my next question. In your view, is this a trade that could ever be done in a way that could be argued to be humane. Politicians here and quite obviously in Australia as well, they talk about improvements, how they can, you know, ensure that the best animal welfare protections will be maintained. But do you think that's possible?
Well, I think the reality is for those of us that really understand this trade well, and, you know, I've ended up with some very good friends of people that were once involved in this trade, and I still have friends that are involved in it that, you know, speak to us because of their concerns about it. But there are layers upon layers of suffering in this. You know, it's not only the obvious issues which have been spoken to, but, you know, you could give each animal as their own stateroom and give them, you know, 2 meters of hay, but it's not going to change the fact that they came from a paddock in the open air with solid ground under their feet, you know, and basically a calm, noiseless environment to be loaded on a ship with a hard metal floor that is constantly vibrating under them, that there is the noise, constant noise of the generators for the ventilation systems. So that is even when they're in port. There are elements that create fear and distress and stress. And then you send them out in the open ocean, and all of us can imagine, and, you know, there is barely a calm sea. There are seas with swells, but regardless, you know, we know in this day and age that the inflicting of unnecessary harm on animals includes fear, terror, and distress. It's not just physical harm. And sadly, this is a trade that inflicts both. So can it be made humane? No, because suffering is inherent to its business model, and it's an accepted part of it. And that's, you know, we know that because mortalities are written in, and mortalities are just the end result. For some animals, the suffering and the unnecessary stress goes across all of the animals that are shipped.
Is your sense that there is a real chance right now in New Zealand, or a real chance right now that New Zealand could be the first country to prohibit live export?
You know, I have a high hope, and that's probably because, you know, this is a tragedy because of the human and animal loss of life that has been felt across every sector. And whether one is a politician or a farmer or a general community member, I think everyone has struggled not to imagine the final moments of both the animals and the seafarers that were on that ship. So I think there's some common ground here to be found based on compassion, based on grief, based on the desire for this never to happen again. And if that is a stated desire, then live export must end. And, you know, it's not just really the issues around these individual shipments. You know, as I say, that from a country such as New Zealand, who prides itself in so many ways on its standards, to actually undermine the progress of animal welfare internationally by participating in a trade that suffering is inherent to. You know, there are so many arguments this trade is unnecessary, nonsensical, it's contrary to our values, it puts human and animal lives at risk, and it will impact New Zealand's reputation. You know, if the response to this tragedy is not to end the live trade, then they will be at constant risk of another disaster. It's inevitable, it will just happen in another way, or its reputation can be enhanced. But I do believe that this is a rare opportunity, as some of the other speakers have talked to find common ground. You know, it's not a radical principle to suggest that animals born and bred in New Zealand should remain in New Zealand care and protection. It's something we can all agree on, regardless of our views on animals.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Just quickly, because we're running out of time, but how do you think we can best honour these animals?
Well, we all want the law to change, and we know that the law is meant to reflect societal moral standards and protect the vulnerable. But beyond that, you know, I think this is a time that we really need to reflect on what is fundamentally wrong with our thinking that allows animals to be put on ships like that. And this comes back to an inherited system of thinking that gives animals raised for food less moral consideration and protection than other animals. And this is what fundamentally needs to shift if we're going to protect animals from suffering. And I honestly think that these are moments in time where global communities who care come together and just can honour these animals by, you know, becoming living, breathing examples of a new way of living towards animals. And I know that there will be numerous Australians on this call that that are prepared to make that commitment today and really create a new belief system that, you know, is in line with compassion, in line with kindness, and let our hearts speak versus, you know, how we've been programmed to think about these animals. And that will lead, I think, to a new way of living and being. That's my hope anyway.
That's mine too. Look, thank you so much, Lynn. I can honestly say our chat is filled up with people who are absolutely praising you right now. You're a hero, and I have to agree with them. Thank you for the work that you do. It was, you know, a Thursday 2 weeks ago, I woke up at 5 a.m. to my phone and it was an email from you telling us what had happened. And it's been a roller coaster since then. So look, thank you so much. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Will.
Julie, I'll throw it back to you.
Mahino kia koe, Lynn. Thank you so much for being with us, and thank you, Will. We are so lucky to have the most incredible speakers to join us, giving us our time, their experience and their wisdom. Thank you all so much. It is time for our third action. Are you ready? This time we're going to focus on a New Zealand leader that I think all of us here in Aotearoa New Zealand know well, and I'm guessing that those of you overseas have probably heard of her as well. Our Prime Minister, our leader, Jacinda Ardern. It is time. We're going to send some messages via social media directly to her. We want to ask Jacinda to show kindness to animals, to extend her compassion. We're going to go on her Facebook page and her Instagram. We've got the links going on right now in the chat. I don't know where I'm pointing. Can you see it? Is it in your direction? So the chat for the Zoom and also the comments for the Facebook. And remember, it's also on the event description on the Facebook for this event. So jump onto there and you'll see the links. Firstly, we're going to start with a comment on her Facebook page. So remember to use the hashtags, hashtag #BanLiveExportNZ and hashtag All Eyes on NZ. Please leave polite and friendly comments, and we've got some examples that we're going to post up now, such as, Jacinda, you have shown so much kindness to our team of 5 million. Will you extend this kindness to our animals too by permanently banning the cruel live export trade? And use those hashtags on there. So that's a fantastic one. We've got 3 options. Seeing your messaging there, fantastic. They're all going in there right now, so jump in, have a look, jump on to Facebook and let her know. Not quite sure what she's up to tonight actually, but suddenly wherever she is, she'll be going, oh, a lot of messages, a lot of people are jumping on my social and commenting. That's what we want. We wanted to know. Remember, our politicians are elected by us. They are there to do what we want. So we've got to tell them, hey, this is what we want. We want and we need you to ban live export. Okay, and let's jump onto the Instagram as well. The link is there, jumping on her Instagram and using you've got an option there, and you've got another couple of options for any wording that you want to use. Remember, just keep it polite, keep it friendly, but yeah, no mistake what we're asking for. Hashtag #BanLiveExportNZ, hashtag All Eyes on NZ. Wonderful. Hey, this is fantastic. Remember, you can keep doing these actions as we go because we do have more people that we want to hear from. I want to thank you so much for taking part. I can see you're all busy there on your computers, on your phones. Some of you have got your little animal companions with you. You've got your signs up in the background. It is looking fantastic. So what do you reckon? Should we have some live interviews with some of New Zealand political figures? We have a couple. Here's one I prepared earlier. No, we do have them. You may have seen their faces around if you're looking through on the videos that we've got showing up from everybody here. So we have Gareth Hughes, there's a name you would have heard, and Vernon Tava. Let me introduce you both. Let me introduce them to you, and then Will is going to interview them. So Gareth Hughes. Gareth graduated from Victoria University with a degree in religious studies, history and politics. He worked for Greenpeace for nearly a decade and has done a stint on the Rainbow Warrior. Gareth entered Parliament in 2010, the youngest MP at the time. Gareth's main focuses are cleaner energy, protecting the environment, and embracing technology and innovation. She is currently the Green spokesperson for animal welfare and is also currently the longest serving Green MP. Fantastic. Also have, I'm just going to introduce you both together here, Vernon Tava. He is the founder and leader of Sustainable New Zealand, the Sustainable New Zealand Party. He's a practicing barrister specialising in criminal defence. He was elected for 2 terms as a member of the Waitemata local board of Auckland Council. He founded the party out of a concern that for too long, a vote for the environment also meant a vote to the left of Labour and a grab bag of fringe issues. Sustainable New Zealand has been formed to put sustainability at the centre of politics and save the environment for being just a left-wing issue. Thank you so much for joining us. Over to you, Will.
Kia ora, thanks, Julie. Welcome, Gareth. Welcome, Vernon. It's great to have you both here today. Both of your parties, the Green Party and Sustainable New Zealand, you've come out with policies against live export, even before the sinking of Gulf Livestock 1. Gareth, is banning live export going to be a priority for your party leading up to the October elections?
Hey, Will and Julie and everyone, kia ora, ngā mihi nui kia koutou, kia ora. It's awesome to see you all, and it's amazing seeing all those tweets out there. Can I just start by saying we've still got 2 Kiwis missing at sea, so I really want to acknowledge their family. I know the government's supporting through Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and our hearts go out to them. This is a horrific tragedy, and it is a priority for the Green Party. It's something we've been crystal clear for many, many years in Parliament. And of course, the tragedy we see on the front page of our newspapers isn't the first problem we've seen with live export. We've seen the scandal of Sri Lanka, we've seen accidents happen overseas, and it's something that I've actually taken up with the Minister. Now, I was debating with the Minister, Damien O'Connor, and he said, well, Gareth, it's kind of like the Inter-Islander, right? The animals are only in there for a short amount of time. It's not like that at all. A unique perspective I can maybe bring to this debate is I've sailed around the New Zealand waters on the Rainbow Warrior, and we've got some incredibly rough conditions, and we literally are at the bottom of the world. So we know these animals are suffering, they're in distress. We know of numerous accidents. We've seen terrible examples where tens of thousands of animals have been on a single vessel with only a single vet on board. So it's just not good enough. So it is a priority for us. You can see that commitment from us in our election manifesto, which is published on our website. This is the document we'll be taking to the post-election negotiations, where we hope to once again be part of forming the next government. This is a commitment from us that it'll be a priority to negotiate. You can see it in our actions this term in government. We've called for the strongest possible ban. I've personally called on the Minister for haste. Previously, I've called on the Director General of the Ministry of Primary Industries to put in place a moratorium. I thought it made no sense to continue this practice while it was being actively reviewed. In the wake of the Gulf Livestock 1, I called for a suspension, which was successful, and I've spoken at a number of events. Can I please now take this opportunity to thank SAFE for their amazing campaign in organising the numerous events they've organised, which I've had the pleasure to participate and show the Green Party's commitment. My vision and the Green Party's vision is a country which respects animals, that has the highest quality and standards. That's not consistent with live exports. We need your political support to force Labour to do the right thing. We haven't seen the action we deserve under the current Labour government. So keep sending those tweets, and with your political support this election, we can make sure we ride it into the formation of the next government. Kia ora koutou.
Vernon, you've Sustainable New Zealand also has a policy around live export. It's been there again since before the capsize of Gulf Livestock 1. Is this a priority for you as well leading up to this election?
Absolutely. It's a very high priority for Sustainable New Zealand, the party, and has been for me personally for many years. I trained as a lawyer and wrote a lot of legal academic work and gave talks around the country about the state of our animal welfare law, which looks great on first reading. We've got the 5 freedoms, we've got the recognition of animal sentience, all this great stuff on the surface. But when you look a little bit deeper, the picture is not so pretty. You see, fundamentally, we humans make these very strange distinctions around the way we treat animals. We've got our cats and our dogs and the things we like to hug and have in our homes. And then we've got the other animals, the farmed animals, who are treated with the most abysmal cruelty. And to us, it's Sustainable New Zealand. And to me personally, that distinction doesn't make any sense. So if there were a common denominator that goes through our animal policy, which I'd urge you to go and have a look at on our website, sustainablenz.org.nz, if there's a golden thread that runs through all of it, it's that all animals should be treated equally because they all feel fear, happiness, pain, distress, and they all have the fundamental right, and it's on us to guarantee that for them, to be free from fear, pain, and distress. Because industrialized cruelty is mostly invisible. It's very rare that we actually see what goes on behind the scenes, and it takes sometimes a tragedy like the one we've seen. And of course, there's been this terrible loss of human life, but just the sheer scale of the animal lives lost. And when we just imagine, we think, what if it were my dog or my cat or an animal that I cared about that was in those horrendous conditions on high seas in fear of their life, drowning in a container that they couldn't escape from. It's one of the worst fates imaginable. And to know that an animal that's at least as intelligent as a dog, that can feel that fear and that pain and that horror of knowing that it and everyone with it is going to die, is a thing that when we see it, we say no more, we will not tolerate this. Mm. So yes, we are, and I am personally, and Sustainable New Zealand is absolutely and implacably opposed to live export. It would be an absolute bottom line. Should we be fortunate enough to be sitting around a coalition table in negotiations, it would be an absolute bottom line that live export needs to end immediately. There doesn't need to be a gentle transition out of this one. This is something that could just end right away, and it should. We New Zealanders have led the world before, and I think this is our chance to do it again.
Yes, that's our moment, isn't it? Vernon, Sustainable New Zealand, Gareth Hughes, the Green Party, thank you very much for being here this evening and for drawing a line in the sand, so to speak.
Thank you so much, Safe, for doing this tonight and for doing everything you do.
Cheers, thanks. And back to you, Julie.
Thank you, Will. Thanks, Gareth and Vernon, for being here. We know it's a busy time on the campaign trail. We are in an election period in New Zealand, which is why it's important. It's always important to let our politicians know what we think and what we want from them. But especially now, we have an election coming up. They want our votes. They need our votes. That's the only way they get into Parliament, our votes. So let's tell them what we need from them. We're going to do a quick summary of the actions that we have taken. We started off, our first action was that Facebook photo frame. Remember, if you're on Facebook, you can put a photo frame around your profile picture. So we've left the links there on the event page on Facebook for this event. So go check that out. Or you can just, when you go into your update your profile photo, it will give you there an option of adding a frame, and you can choose the ban live export frame. We had Twitter and Facebook comments going on to a number of our politicians, our leader Jacinda Ardern, those politicians who are particularly involved in agriculture and trade, also all of the big political parties, but hey, we've got some smaller ones too, go at all of them. So tweet at them, comment on their Facebook. We've given you some examples of what to do for words. Remember, just keep it polite, keep it friendly, tell them the truth. That's what we're hearing here. The truth is sad and horrible enough. We know that we have to end live export. And the last action we've taken this evening together is letting Jacinda know. Yeah, in New Zealand, we call her Jacinda. We're pretty close to our politicians, so first name basis. And because of that, we can ask our friend Jacinda, hey, we want you, we need you to ban this. So jump onto her Facebook page and also her Instagram. And somebody did just say earlier, she's actually on Facebook Live at the moment. So she's going to get the stuff popping up. Remember, keep doing it through this evening, and you can keep going with the days and the weeks ahead, as I said, especially leading up to our election. So thank you so much for the action you're taking. It really, really does make a difference. It's really important. Thank you. I would like to introduce our very last speaker, and in fact this is a pre-recorded interview, and once you hear who it is, it's no wonder why. A very, very busy person, Laura O'Connell Rapira. Laura is Te Atiawa, Ngā Puhi, Ngā Ruahine, Te Rarawa, Ngā Te Whakaawa. She is a director of Action Station and Independent Community Action Group, representing over 100,000 New Zealanders acting together to create what we cannot achieve on our own: a society, economy and democracy that serves people and papatuanuku. That's our Mother Earth. Laura is also a board member of Just Speak, a youth-empowered organisation working to transform our justice system, and The Workshop, a think and do tank that researches the best way to shift hearts and minds on important kaupapa. So thank you. We'll now play that interview.
So the campaign to end live export, it's been going on for a long time. Could you describe why it's important for people to come together and collaborate to create change?
I guess because it's Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori Week, I thought I would share an example from our history about the incredible power that ordinary people have to affect huge amounts of change when we take collective action. And so the story I'm going to share is about a woman called Naida Glavish. And in 1984, she worked as a toll operator at the post office. Every single day, she would answer the phone and say kia ora, which for those who don't know, it actually means be healthy or be well. And one day her supervisor overheard her answering the phone like this and threatened to fire her for using a non-standard greeting. So at the time, it's important to note that Naida was renting a post office house, which meant that if she lost her job, she would also lose her home. But despite that, she refused to back down, and she went back to work the next day and she picked up the phone and she said, kia ora. The news of her possible dismissal ended up making it to headlines all around the country. And it made a lot of people angry because they didn't like the idea that someone was going to be fired from their job for saying kia ora, for saying be healthy, be well. So for almost a month, people all around the country organised people in their communities to flood the post office phone lines, insisting to talk to the kia ora lady. This might seem like quite a small action, but of course, lots of people taking that small action all around the country again and again and again did create change, because what history tells us is that this coordinated effort, along with the petition that was delivered about 10 years earlier to Parliament in 1972, that was signed by over 30,000 people calling for active recognition of Te Reo Māori, all of those things helped create the conditions in which Māori became an official language of New Zealand in 1987. And that's a language that was almost taken away because in this country it was once, legal to beat children for speaking it in schools. And so, of course, if we fast forward 30 years, on the Monday that's just been, we had over 1 million people in Aotearoa participating in Māori language moment. So 1 million people across New Zealand and the rest of the world either spoke Te Reo, or they listened to a Te Reo waiata, or they listened to a Māori speech or something like that as part of Māori language moment. And I think that it's really incredible to recognise that none of that would have happened if it wasn't for ordinary people taking action to create change.
And that's a powerful movement, and it's taken a long time to get there, obviously, but we've seen the success from it. Equally, people might feel isolated and helpless at the moment, especially during the COVID environment, and they see injustices like live export continue to occur. Obviously, it takes time for these things to happen. What advice can you give to people who are joining us for the virtual protest today, who might be feeling maybe a little bit helpless?
I would say that these are really strange times that we're living in, and it doesn't do us any good to deny the fact that we are in a global pandemic. I think it's really important, more than ever, for us to be taking care of ourselves and for us to be taking care of each other. I think it's part of the work of creating change in the world to also ensure that you're practicing self-care, but also going beyond that to collective care. Who are the people in your community that need help that you can reach out to for support? Don't be afraid to reach out to others and ask for help and support. There is incredible kindness out there everywhere you look. And I think COVID, more than anything, has shown us the ability for people to prioritize our collective well-being. We changed our entire lives and moved into our homes in order to keep each other safe and well. And we've proven that we are capable of extraordinary things, but those extraordinary things do take time. And so I think it is really important to be gentle on ourselves, be gentle on others, while we stay strong in the fight for animal liberation.
Beautiful. Laura, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Up in the Northern Territory, they're going to build the world's
Kia ora, over to me. Hey, Laura, thank you so much for taking the time to record that earlier today. Thank you, Will. It's great to be reminded that together we can do so much. And that's what we've done tonight. We have come together. So thank you, all of you, for staying through this evening. This has been, boom, we've just hit it there, 65 minutes. 65 minutes of protest together to represent the 65,000 cows who have been exported from Aotearoa, New Zealand this year alone. 65,000. It's mind-blowing. So thank you so much for attending and for staying. And I know that some of you will be wanting to know about the prize we promised that we would be announcing at the end of this protest. So it is my pleasure to announce the prize. Now I'm going to read a little bit here because it's super cool. And hey, don't forget, you can keep doing those actions as we go. And just a quick live update, our hashtags are trending on Twitter. So great job, everybody. Remember, Twitter is global. As we're going into our evening, maybe into bedtime here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, other parts of the world are just waking up, having their lunch, doing other things. So let's keep those hashtags going on Twitter. It's absolutely fantastic. Hashtag #BanLiveExportNZ and hashtag All Eyes on NZ. Good work, team. All right, back to the prize. I know that's what you're waiting for. So the prize we have is $200 gift to the Starfish Bobby Calf Project in your name. What an absolutely amazing gift. The winner of this prize will get the honor of naming a calf who is currently, right at this moment, being rescued by Starfish, and they will receive some updates through the first few months of this calf's life in their new forever home. Let me tell you a little bit about this calf. This yet to be named calf is 1 week old and was born on a dairy farm here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Starfish Bobby he was due to be placed on a Bobby Calf truck at just a couple of days old. Starfish Bobby Calf Project was contacted to help him and were given just 24 hours to organise his rescue from the farmer. He was actually put onto the Bobby Calf truck, but at the last minute, the Starfish Bobby Calf Project was able to arrange transport to collect him. So this fella has had a very, very narrow escape. He has a very sweet nature and he loves cuddles and milk. He is now safe and will live out his life peacefully with people who love and care for him. We don't have photos of him just yet because, like I said, he's just being transported at the moment. But once he's settled into his new home, Safe will share photos of the calf. And once he has been renamed by you, our lucky winner. Who is our winner? Well, that is to be decided in very random draw, and Safe will let you know if you have been the lucky winner. I would love to know what you were going to name this beautiful, wonderful calf who has had a very, very lucky rescue. Hey, thanks for sticking with us. Thank you so much for all of our absolutely amazing speakers. Thank you for the mahi, the work that you have all done, tweeting, changing your profile frame, posting on Facebook, all those fantastic things. Remember to keep doing it, keep taking action. This is what makes a difference. The people power, nothing else could do. We could all just sit at home thinking, oh, well, somebody else is going to do it, but it's us. So let's keep on doing it. Thank you so much for what you've done. Remember, these 65 minutes representing 65,000 cows. And let's hope, as we keep taking this action together, that we can make a really, really big difference, that these numbers won't change, that this will actually be the end. We're not going to see any more live exports. That's what we've come together for this evening. And this is the strong message that we are sending our political leaders here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Don't forget that. It's up to us to let them know what we want. So we will get a ban on live export. It is going to come. To make sure this happens, make sure you keep doing those actions. Please keep following Safe's campaign to make this happen, to ban live export. You can keep up to date with that through a number of these social channels, but the best way, jump onto their Facebook page, safe.org.nz. And you know, another thing that's really going to help, you've given your time and your compassion, and we're so grateful. If you're able to donate, some people aren't, that's fine, but please, please, if you are able to donate, please go on to the Safe website, safe.org.nz, and donate what you can, and we will continue this action and we will make this happen. Thank you so much. Hey, I am going to finish my evening after being here with you all by jumping onto Twitter, jumping onto Facebook, and just reading all these amazing comments that you have left, seeing all the mahi, all the work that everybody is doing. So I just want to thank you, everybody, so very, very much for joining us from all around the world, all of our amazing speakers. Keep going, keep doing your absolutely fantastic work. Together, we will ban live export. Thank you all for joining us this evening, this morning, wherever you are. Go well.